Hello, and thank you for joining me. Today's video is going to be more like a double redemption, if you will. Now, if you watched the video of the rolling tray with the dragon, you know that I was really trying to force that dragon in there and the rolling tray. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Plus, there were some issues caused by human error. So I want to kind of redeem that, but I also want to redeem the charcuterie board with crackers. If you watch that video, you know that the crackers won. So in today's video, I am going to use the less resin serving tray, and this is an 8-inch by 13-inch by 0.4 inches. So this should fit in there real well. And I will put a link in the description box below to some of the products that I use. Especially if you're interested like in this serving tray. I like it because yes, you can use it as a serving tray or charcuterie board, but you can also just, because there's a hole in the handle, you could just hang it on the wall, kind of like a picture. But what I want to do for today's video is I do want to do, I believe it's called a puddle pour. If the terminology is wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comments below. But I want to pour clear, and then I am going to use some of the black epoxy resin pigment paste, and when I mix that, I want it somewhat translucent, and then I want to mix some red mica. So I want to pour clear, some of the translucent black, the red mica, clear, until I get like a couple of different layers in there, and then it should be deep enough to add the color, still having plenty of room for the dragon. And what I hope to accomplish with that is like a lava look. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mix up 200 milliliters of epoxy resin. I shouldn't need all of that, but just in case I want to have a little bit extra mixed up. So let me get that mixed up and we will get this party started. I have the resin mixed, and I am going to add, I think, I'm going to add the red mica first, get it stirred up and let it sit, and then I will add the black pigment paste. So let me go ahead and see if I can add this. That's one little spoon. I think I want to get at least one more big spoon. Then I'll give it a stir and see how red that is. So let me set that down, and we'll give it a stir. And this is just the cup that I reuse until I can't. So let me get this stirred in and see if it's red enough or if I need to add more. Generally speaking, it doesn't take a whole bunch of mica. So let me grab a tissue here and just put it on there and see if I think it's red enough. It looks pretty red. I don't know. Maybe I'll add a little bit more. Because ideally I want the red to really shine through, but I also want the black to show up. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to accomplish the lava look, but I'm sure going to try. All right, let me stir this in and then I'll work on the black. That'll give this an opportunity to just set, and if there's any dry flakes, they'll float up and I can give it another stir. All right, let me set that aside. Now on the black, I don't want it opaque, but I don't want it too transparent either. So I am just going to add just a little drop to my stick and see. Wow, it looks pretty dark in there, but it's inside the cup. So let me wipe my stick Give it a little more stir and I'll check it. Set that aside. I may need to add a little more. Well, it looks pretty opaque on this stick itself, not where I dipped it in. Let me see if I can clean that part off. Not where I dipped it in or put the paste on it, but it's pretty opaque. I think that's going to be dark enough. I hope so. All right, so let me set that aside. And let me check my red again. And give it another stir for any dry. And that red, I don't know if you can tell how pretty that is on the camera. It is a really pretty red. And I want to take my time and see how deep it is. I got black all over me and red. Because I want to make sure I leave enough room that after it cures, I can put that dragon in and still cover the dragon. I'm going to try to find the center, and I'm going to start with the clear. And I don't want to put all of this in here. I just want to put a puddle in the center. And then I want to use the black. Yeah, black next. And try to center it in that puddle. And hopefully this will be enough to at least cover the bottom of the mold. Now some red. Go back to the clear. And I do want to finish it off with clear. I might be able to do 3 rounds. Right now it looks like a bullseye. I need for it to spread all over this because I can't touch it with the tool because that'll mess up the design. I'm going to let it just spread for a second and then I will put some more black on there. I'm going to finish the black off and hope this spreads throughout the whole tray. It should. That's it for the black. We'll do the same thing. I'm going to finish off the red and then I will put some clear. Let's see if I can scrape that last little bit out because every little bit counts. Oops, I've got a drop where I didn't want it. Scrape just this last little bit out and get it in there. And now the clear. It's starting to spread. She needs to spread all the way. Again, let me get all this out of here. Try and get it right in the center. And take a peek down here. Excuse me. Let me grab my dragon and look. I'm just going to set it here. Now I know that it's not done spreading. It'll get even thinner once it's finished spreading. And then ideally, that dragon should fit in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it finish doing its spreading thing, and I will bubble set. And I'll try real hard not to play with it with the tool, even though it's tempting. But I'm going to actually let this cure for a good long time. I'm talking 6 to 12 hours. I don't want it sticky or anything when I put the dragon in there. So I'm going to let it cure for a good long time. Then I'll come back on and put the dragon in the center. And by that time, we'll know what the design's going to do. And then put a clear layer over it. Possibly dome it. It just depends on how much room. I may actually just put a thin clear layer, put the dragon in there, allow it to start curing, and then dome it. I guess we'll see when we get to that step. But this is it so far, and it's starting to spread, so I think it's going to be just fine, especially if I don't touch it. So that's where we're at so far. And when I am ready to place the dragon and put that next layer of clear, I'll be back on. So I'll see you in a minute. Now this is cured pretty well, actually. I mean, I can put the dragon on top of it and kind of get an idea of where center's at. And it doesn't really look like lava. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it, y'all, I can't help myself. I think I'm going to try to put some flames on this thing. So I did mix up some red, some orange, and some yellow mica. But first I want to start with the clear and pour it so far. And then put the colors in at the bottom, or maybe the other way around. Let me start with some clear up here because I want to make sure I can get that dragon kind of central. Let me let that set. And I hope I don't regret this. I may end up regretting this. Who knows? But it just seems so plain just the way it is. So let me just put some, try to do some flames. Put a little bit of yellow down. And after I get the colors poured, I'll pour some more of the clear. Some orange. And some red. Make sure that's good and stirred. And then I'll put a little more clear down. And I do want to place the dragon before, I think before I start drawing flames, and I hope that's just not too much red. Oops. So let me put a little bit more clear just to kind of get it down here. I don't want to pour it all just yet. And I'm going to spread this around a little bit without touching the colors, I hope. And I hope I didn't just like mess this up with this thing, but I don't know. It just seemed a little too plain to me. Let's kind of get that scooch down. Okay. But I need to get some a little bit more up here. There. This should ideally get down there. I hope I don't mess it up. Sometimes I'm my own worst enemy. Let me go ahead and give it a quick spray. And then try to center the dragon. Let me get my tool. I mean, it's kind of cool how the black and the red moved up like this, almost like a big billow of smoke around the dragon. I just want to make sure it looks kind of centered in there, as centered as possible, and straight. I don't want a crooked dragon. And let me grab this stick for a second, this stir stick. I just want to make sure that it's not popping up over the mold. Boy, it's pushing it though. Definitely pushing it. That's my stick is kind of crooked, so let me see if I can use something else to check it because the stick is kind of crooked. Huh. This is a straighter stick, so let me use this. This is the top of the mold. So yeah, it's just probably going to barely fit with the dome, but it looks like it will fit. Thank goodness. I just want to tap it in case there's any bubbles underneath. And then just try to check if it looks centered or not. I mean, it's a little higher up, but I'm going to be bringing flames up. All right. All right, I'm going to go around these edges here. And then I'm going to try to draw some flames. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to step away and let it cure some more. And then come back in and dome it with some clear. So here we go. And we will just see what that turns out like. All right, I am going to bubble set. And I don't know about all these little red streaks down here. Pull those around like a flame. I'm going to bubble set and let this cure for several hours. And then I'll go back in and dome it and meet you back here for the unmolding. So I will see you shortly. It is time for the unmolding. And what I did with the rest of the yellow, the orange, and the red that was left is I just poured it into this little mold. And this is the Let's Resin. It's actually called a flower candle molds. And they come in all different sizes. So when I have leftover resin, that's a good place to pour it. Because one of these days I'm going to actually come up with a project using these. So, and even though they do say for candle making, you can also use them for resin. So let me go ahead and I want to unmold this first and then this one. Oh, y'all, that came out so pretty. And that's just layering the yellow, the red, and the orange. Anyhow, you didn't come to see the flower. Now, in the mold, this looks great. And I run my hands across, and there's no dragon sticking up. So that's a win. I am kind of curious as to what the backside's going to look like. And hopefully, no bubbles or bubble pits. So let's go ahead and get this out of the mold and see if I got a double redemption. Here's the single redemption. The dragon is not popping up like the crackers were, or like the dragon in the rolling tray. I mean, it wasn't popping up, but you could still see the back of it. Let's see if we can get this off. Let me turn it sideways here without moving the whole leveling table. All right, let me set that down. And there's the back of it. And I think that kind of looks like lava. Now you can see the silhouette of the dragon, but ideally when you're serving, you'll be serving like that. And if you wanted to, you could hang that on the wall as a display. And I'm looking here to see. I don't offhand see any bubble pits. So I feel like, yes, this is a double redemption. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I do want to thank you for watching and ask you to please consider hitting the like, subscribe, and share buttons. And I will see you next time. Thank you again for watching.